You want to welcome them back? It's been a minute. We were out touring the workshop last week, so welcome back, guys. Welcome back to the YS Tech podcast. I'm here with Charlie, the one and only. So, Charlie, what'd you do this weekend?
A little bit of R&R. Had a heavy travel week last week, so we had our couple of Eva and Arvin were in from the factory, and we were out running around the East Coast last week and down into Texas. So had a great week, meeting with some customers, getting some new opportunities and all that. So just kind of relaxed on Saturday and watched a little football and whatnot on Sunday.
Your team win?
Chargers pulled off a W last night.
Let's go.
What about you? How's your weekend?
Really good. Busy. Really, really busy. I was doing a few open houses. Not going to touch on that too much. I did get the pleasure of seeing Jack Johnson perform live. And then Kelly Slater came out on stage and he started singing at some point. And like Rob Machado was out there. These guys are all like legends in the surf world. And it was just
Can they sing?
Yeah, pretty good actually. No, we're
Nice.
not talking like Taylor Swift, like Kelly Clarkson level, but they're pretty good.
You listen to Taylor Swift?
No, I don't. But I'm just
Okay, I'm just checking.
dude, it was
I'm
just
just
like, you know
checking.
what? It was the first like artist that came up. Dude, she like grosses like $1 billion every time she goes on tour, which is insane.
She's a big name. I'm just
Yeah.
concerned if that's what you're listening to
That's
on your
not
weekend for a
I'm
good
listening to
time.
like Pop Evil, like Disturbed, like the most like these guys are probably like, what is that stuff?
Hey, people that know. Well, I mean, I guess if you're going back before the weekend, because I went to a show Friday night.
Ooh, where'd you go?
I went to the Riverside Municipal Auditorium, which, by the way, is a wonderful facility or venue if you haven't been to it here in Southern California. But Avatar played, so I'm a metal guy, so they're pretty good. They're, I don't know, somewhere over in Europe, and they're definitely got a little bit of they like theatrics. They're very entertaining, but if you're wondering, I'm sure you could look up some video from Friday night show. There, it was
So
pretty good.
between the show and the traveling, you were like, I need some R&R.
It's like I dropped the ladies off at Ontario Airport for their 10 o'clock flight, and then just went straight from there over to Riverside. So it worked out that way logistically, but
Yeah.
anyways, yeah, it was good.
Cool. So let's dive into it. Today we're talking mil-spec, right?
That's it.
All right. So we're going to actually talk about a little bit about what is mil-spec. So first of all, what kind of DC fans are we talking about here? Because I know we do mil-spec DC fans.
Well, that's what we're talking about is mil-spec DC fans.
Right. So what? Thank you, Captain Obvious. No, but what type of fan? I know there's brushless and whatnot. So what type of DC fan is it actually?
Well, you're stating what it is.
Right.
So it is a mil-spec fan that is DC, brushless, axial fan. So within the mil-spec world, right, these are products that are certified for military use and high reliability and durability within the field. So, if you go back into the 70s and 80s, I mean, everything that was made for the military was mil-spec. So, when you get your electronics for radios and communications and all that stuff, it's just a higher level of integrity within the design and reliability. So for the fans, it's just there's all kinds of things that we upgrade to improve all those, which we'll work through as we have this conversation.
Definitely. And then how are these fans tested? I know with some of them there's like mil 810. So like kind of how are those tested and graded?
Yeah, so these are mil 810 fans, right? That's the category by which they're in. And then we have all kinds of different tests that would be in that category. So, the altitude and atmospheric pressure and all the humidity and all the different things, right? There's subcategories within that mil 810H standard. And so a lot of the standard things we hit go from the 500.1 series all the way up to like 513.2. We can have a little clip here out of our spec sheet that shows all those different ranges, right? So all of those are giving you the basic parameters by which they're being tested to, and a lot of these type of applications might be airborne or other things, but I think we'll be easing into that as we work through our
Right, and
stuff here.
you did touch on it, but what kind of tests are actually included in those tests? Because you did mention there's altitude, rain, vibration. So how does the testing on that work?
So all of the individual tests are defined by their standard, right? So if you have that MIL 810 and it's a 500.1 series for atmospheric pressure testing or whatnot, I don't have it right in front of me, so that might not be perfectly correct, but you would go in and by definition, that is in the spec, right? So you go to a lab and then they certify to it. Do I have all the nitty-gritty details of exactly what those are? We certainly could pull them up, but I think for this conversation, right, that's probably a bit more technical than where we need to get. But we have, I believe it's the 8 different standards, right? The 500 through 513 that we were just talking about. We show again like what those are here. That's what they've been qualified to so far. And then there's additional tests that if customers choose to want to have it, depending on if you're going in a tank or you're going in a fighter jet or you're going in land-based operations. I mean, there's all these different applications that may have different requirements. So then you get into stuff that customers might want to do specifically for their design, right? And then that's when we would quote all the additional testing packages that could be there. I mean, we're working with a certain customer now on an airborne application, and we quoted, I think, 10 additional tests
Wow,
that they want to have the fans certified to, right? And then by doing that, that would minimize what they have to test to for their end product,
got it.
right? So the point is that these things are super robust. We've got a wonderful process for it, and we're able to work with you based on our testing we have, plus what you may need, and how we work through the design development.
Got it. And then what are the temperature limits on those environments?
On a handful of these parts, they're ranging from a max temp of 85 to 100 C.
Wow,
So they have
it's
super
toasty.
robust, really nice.
And then what kind of materials goes into the housing and overall design of them?
So one of the big differences between a commercial fan and a mil spec fan, and for us at least, is we're actually doing machine billet in housings and impellers. And so you're getting in. That's how you get the robustness of it. For the shock and vibe and the temperature and all that kind of good stuff. So um, really nice, very precision housing for maximum reliability and performance.
And then you mentioned these are made for dispense or defense or aerospace. What actually makes them more suitable for those fields?
Well, it's the fact that they've survived these certification tests, right? So when you get into it, the shock and vibe, right? So, we've got some of our smaller fans and even these that can, handle 7, 8 Gs, right? And so when you get into those kind of pulls, right, you want something that's not going to deform, flex, or break, right? So that's why we do a billet aluminum housing, right? So you've got, instead of being plastic where you can get, the bend in the bow, right, in a plastic part, these are much more rigid and they can withstand that. But
I
that
want
also helps them in the temperature because if you have a normal, PBT is what we make our frames out of and all that, and it's those typically are good up to about 85 C, but when you're going higher than that, then you start getting, it's called deflection, right? Where plastic, it may not be so soft that you could squeeze it, but if you're putting 4 or 5 or 6 G's on it, the whole thing could start distorting, right? Just because you're applying pressure to something that's starting to get soft.
I want to highlight that you said 7 to 8 G's of force.
G
That's
force, yeah,
insane.
yeah.
That I can't even fathom how much
Well,
force that is.
if you got one in a fighter jet, think about the kind of G's it pulls when it turns.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I saw Top Gun. I've seen that how those work.
That's right.
Flying a little upside down, cruising.
Hey, whatever it takes.
Yes, sir. So what options are actually available on these fans?
So this is the DC line, right? They are axial brushless fans. And so I mean, we've got tachometers in there, we've got PWM, so any of the cool features that can come in a commercial DC fan, we can certainly integrate to these as well.
awesome. And then you did mention PWM. So what voltage and frequency are actually being applied?
So, you know, most military applications are 28 volt versus if you're in the commercial world, right? We got 12, 24, and 48, right? Those are your three standard inputs. So 28 is most common. We do 28 as a nominal input. And, you know, if you want a broad range, say going from 12 to 56 volts or something like that, we can certainly accommodate those voltage ranges. The voltage is going to drive the fan. If you're using PWM, then that's where you have a frequency. You know, in the commercial world, 25 kilohertz is kind of the sweet spot. But if you've got unique applications, what's our middle name?
Custom.
That's right. We can customize it to whatever you want. So if you want 10 hertz, you know, 10 kilohertz, 25 kilohertz, 30 kilo, whatever, you know, we can, that's easy for us to work on like that. So frequency is tunable to whatever you want it to be. We talked about RPM. You know, the PWM is nice because it's the best way to speed control apart and get the best parameters for every operating point that you have.
Got it. Awesome. And then how many pulses per rotation does the tachometer output send back?
You know, in these in motors, you get 2 pulses per revolution. So that's, you think of, you know, in a DC motor, you've got different kinds of commutations. Well, it's not different kinds. You have motor commutations. And so usually it's either a 2 or 3 pulse per revolution thing. So it just depends on the series and the motor type. But 2 pulse per revolution is most common.
Awesome. And then one final question: what's next for the future of these mil-spec fans at YS Tech?
So we right now the series that we have coming out are all the DC versions, right? We'll have the new catalog ready this next month. It's being finished up right now, just so you can see all the options that we have. And then I believe the plan is for 2027 is to release some AC versions that are in the 400 hertz range. So,
Wow.
you know, a lot, we see the DC stuff being in equipment and other power supplies, telecom equipment, you know, things like that are in these aircraft. When you're using them for air and other things that are more system related, you know, the AC 400 hertz is the most common AC input on it's commercial aircraft and military. So, you know, DC is really kind of our core competency and where we're at, but we'll be evolving into that. And, you know, another thing that I almost forgot to bring up, you know, we're competing with guys like Amatec Rotron, right? That's where we want to go after it. We're very cost competitive. We believe our integrity and performance and like products is awesome. But these parts are made in Cyprus, right? So we can manufacture outside of Asia, right? Have them coming over here. Lead times are pretty good. So, you know, lots of interesting things. So if you're out there working on new designs for all you military guys, you know, we want to bring another option to the table and a little bit more cost competitive. And we feel like, you know, we can engage and work together and really dial in the part and how you need it for your application. I think just like with commercial fans, we feel like that's a need in the military world as well, to where you're getting a COTS part, commercial off the shelf, but if you want to put a little bit of love on it one way or another, we can add it up where you need it.
We could add a little spice if we got to.
That's right. That's right.
Awesome. Cool. Hey, thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. You wanna send them off?
Yeah. So, you know, if you guys need anything or whatever, just let us know. But always good to see you guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Stay cool.
Yeah.
So we're all